and it was packed.
Okay.
And it was 21 and over, and this is 18 and over.
Oh, really?
So I can only just expect this shit to just blow up a little bit more because of like the joint networks and platforms and collectives that are involved with this event. So
I feel like people are starting to like more like these underground, kind of more unofficial type of like events. You know,
right. Well, I was even
just like at an Airbnb.
yeah for sure. Oh, I mean, I was even telling people. I forgot who I was talking to about this, but we're gonna be announcing an 18 and over show real soon with Lowen, right? And it's like this the first time kind of thing that we're doing with Lowen, where we're gonna be doing an actual 18 and over, and especially in Riverside, where the last 18 and over event was that collaboration with Space Yacht, and it was Space Yacht. I believe it was White Rabbit Group. They had it at the RMA. And that was like five. That was like 4 years ago, and that was the last. No, that wasn't us. No, it was Space Yacht and White Rabbit Group. They had it at the RMA, and that's like 1,000 to 2,000 like people capacity. They packed it out, but that was 5 years ago, and that was the last time that they had like an 18 over event, EDM event like that.
But they packed it like 1,000 people in there.
They definitely packed it. There was one section that the RMA offers, but it was closed for that night, so it was like only 1,200 or 1,500. But I think the cap is 2,000 if you like have all like the sections open. Cause yeah, it's like a pretty big location. But I noticed that just a gap of 18 to 21. That's a big chunk of the dance music market, especially the people that are going to festivals. Nowadays, like you go, I think like 50-60% of the attending goers are like in that age range. So,
Yeah.
like going back to what like we're
Except,
talking
like,
about,
EDC,
like
it's like I think I believe EDC is like 20
no, I think EDC is 18 and over.
plus. 18 now?
Yeah, yeah. It's I think
I think Bard Summer is 20 plus. So there's some that are 20 plus.
yeah, there's certain no, there's definitely some certain like events that are 21 and over. That's like official, right? But
Yeah.
in terms of like the age range of 18 21, that's like a big chunk of like I think dance music listeners and
I mean, like just people going out to college. That's when they want to party. And usually, I mean, if you go straight out of high school into college, you're not 21 yet, you know, but you still want to go out and do shit.
Right.
At least for me, that's how it was. Like I started college when I was 17. It's like everyone around me was like probably like a year or two older, but everyone was under 21. And it's just like fake IDs. Wow.
you were 17, but before we were like recording, you mentioned like in Brazil, like you're from Brazil.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so were you 17 out in Brazil when this was happening, or you were out here in the States?
When I started college. Or...
Yeah. Oh, when you're talking about like this college lifestyle, yeah, when you were 17 and
yeah, so I finished high school in Brazil. Then I applied to universities out here, moved out to LA. In like 2000, I did my first like full semester, and then on the second semester was when COVID hit, and then like just went online. But yeah, I got into college. The thing is, I think I skipped a year like in kindergarten, so like every time, like all my classmates have always been like 1 or 2 years older than me. So I did like.
Oh, and definitely put the mic.
My bad.
Very good.
Are they working? Like
Yeah, you're great. Yeah, you're good.
you can see the level.
Yeah. So be careful what you say, dog. It's ready.
Yeah, so like I got into college when I was 17. Like I started it because it starts like in the middle of the year, and my birthday is on September. So for the first like 3 months, I was 17. And then I turned 18, which is like the legal age in Brazil, but now here it's not. So it's like I've been like doing shit down in Brazil before being 18, and then as soon as I turn 18, I move out, and I'm still like, you know, living that underage like drinking life, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Underage life.
Yeah, everything that comes with that, you know, you can't or can go to places, but you might not get in, you know, especially because I didn't have like an American fake ID. I had the Brazilian ID is like a piece of paper, so nobody accepts it, and I don't want to like go out with my passport, because if I lose that.
Yeah, it's like fuck. You don't want to lose your passport at all, dude.
Yeah. No, I don't. That shit's fucked. But yeah, it's like it feels good to be 21. You know, like I feel like I haven't been going out a lot in the past year because all my friends turned 21, and then I had one more year to go, and it's like just that feeling of, you know, you pregame and then you go to the venue, and you get there, you're about to like get inside, all your friends are getting in, and then you can't get in, and you're just like standing outside, kind of drunk, you're like ready to turn up, you know, and all your friends just go in, and you're just like, oh fuck. So I've just been like laying low, but now Go
Hey,
out.
you just turned 21, right? Yeah, so now you're able to go ahead and DJ with your partner here at Trypbox, right? Yeah, I know for a while you've been doing a lot of these events by yourself because, you know, not being of age, not being able to participate with that. Like, how does that? I mean, how does that feel like for you? Like when
Once I am like for now or
before that, like when he would go ahead and do these shows and you would like sit back, like personally, how would you like? Would you feel like, oh damn, I'm missing out, or like, or did you really take that to heart? You didn't really care, like oh my time's coming type shit, like to me to go out.
Like I think because there was certain places like if we played a 18+ show, I'd go, or like some places they would let me in, you know, just like you're not gonna get any drinks, but you get to play your time and then like get out.
There was a place in Newport Beach. It was called Legacy Nightclub.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, Synergy and a lot of those people do their stuff there, right?
Yeah. So like, you know, we're with Synergy currently, and we'll sometimes do shows with them.
Yeah,
they'll put us on a lineup. Maybe you know Eric.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So at Legacy it's 18+. So he was able to come to those shows.
Yeah, always. Yeah, whenever it's 18+, I go. Or like if it's not, we ask him. We're like, okay, he's not 21 yet. Can we like get him in before the security's there? Or like, you know,
yeah.
I'm not gonna mention any specific places.
Yeah,
because
we did a show in San Diego, and they were able to just bring us to the back.
Yeah, it's usually it kind of sucks because like you get there at like 8:30, 9 before there's anyone, so you just
security.
You just like walk in and you just sit there for like 3 hours waiting because it's like I have to get in like as soon as the doors open. It feels bad, but it's just like I experienced that, and that just makes like the fact that I don't have to worry about it anymore so much better. You know, like now it's just like yes, you know, I've joined the rest of the group now. You know,
that's cool. No, I mean I think once you turn 21, a lot of frustrations just get out the way. I mean I remember when Martin Garrix blew up with Animals, he was 17, turning 18, and I remember like hearing like stories and blogs like of like him going to all these like clubs and him having complications of entering because security just didn't want to let a 17 or 18-year-old kid just come in and like do his thing. Or if it was really on like, very strict terms of like, no, you need to be in this area or you have to come before the club opens. So that way we can make sure we have enough screening and you're all good. You can't be drinking and definitely.
Martin Garrix is fucking famous though. Like if a club is like, oh no, you're not getting in because you're not 21. It's like, you're gonna turn down Martin Garrix to play at your club?
It, bro. They've done it.
Yeah, that just sounds dumb. I think
it depends on the country, depends on the city sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, of course it depends.
I think I read something about like you guys maybe know Madion.
Madion?
Listen to Madion
I was
before.
thinking about that.
You know, he was 17 when he blew up, and I think I read something online about how when he was playing shows in the U.S., they had like a strict deal with the clubs where he would arrive, and then there'd be like 2 or 3 bouncers would escort him straight to the booth, the DJ booth, plays a set, and then the bouncers escort him straight out.
Yeah, like
so
I think
no interaction with anyone, just straight in, straight out.
For a famous DJ, I
no
think,
green room for him.
That's like the easy way to go about it. You know, just be like, get in, play, get out, no complications. You know, but for Trypbox, it's like, you know, we're not Martin Garrix, we're not Madium, so
one day, maybe one.
Yeah, one day for sure.
Yeah. So how did you two come to meet and form this whole Trypbox project? Because I mean, coming from Brazil and then you came out because of college.
Yeah.
And then and then were you attending college at the same college as him as well, or how did all that work?
It is the story is literally a trip in itself, you know. Shout out Trypbox.
Yeah, you want to say it?
Yeah,
I'll
say it. So so we used to go to school in China.
In China?
Yeah.
Oh, what?
So,
that's already a trip, bro.
It's already a trip, exactly.
It's a long ass trip actually from here, though.
Yeah, exactly. So like, long story short, my dad used to work in Asia. He's from out here though. My dad, I believe he grew up in like Inglewood. You know, he's a white guy.
Okay.
I'm a mixed kid, so my mom's Chinese.
Oh, word. Okay.
Yeah. So I lived most of my life in Asia. I was born in Japan, by the way. But it was all because of my dad's job. That's how I was born there and everything.
Okay.
But same thing for me. I mean, I grew up in Brazil, but the reason I went out to China was because like my dad got a job offer. So good. good job offer, you know, like to take you out to China, and we're just like, all right, let's fucking go. I was like 13. I just follow him around, you know.
Yeah. So we met in high school, I believe.
Yeah.
Ninth grade?
Like eighth.
Or eighth grade?
End of eighth grade. We only like
high school in China.
Okay. Yeah. Well, end of eighth grade, so that's what, like end of middle school. Yeah. So we were going to, so out there they have like international schools, so we were going to an American school in China.
I was about to say, you guys actually like learned the Chinese like language and all that through school.
Oh yeah. So like
he can speak Chinese.
I can speak Chinese, Mandarin.
Chinese,
I mean, hey, I took one class, man. At the end of it, I could write like a tiny essay with the characters and shit. But,
so
I don't remember shit, man. I don't remember anything.
I mean, since it's an American school, American curriculum, all the classes were in English. But you know, since we're in China, one class would be the Mandarin class, Chinese class. You know, so we we would have English class, and then we would have Chinese class as well. And I think for some people, they were able to switch out Chinese for like German or French, just depended on like specific situations. You know, but yeah, you know, like we just, I think we kind of naturally like just gravitated towards each other because we both were into electronic music at the time.
Yeah.
You know,
so that started very, very early for y'all.
Yeah. I always tell this story, but I remember it was at lunch, and I found out that he likes EDM, and I showed him a Jack Beats song.
Ooh.
It was called One Love. It was on the Ausla compilation. Jack Beats, One Love, and this guy didn't fuck with it.
I was not listening to house at the time.
Yeah, he was listening to like dubstep trap. I was like more into like house.
Okay.
I was onto the like YouTube label wave, you know, like Monster Cat, NCS, all the YouTube labels.
Saying, yeah.
And that was
Got
mostly
that
like
YouTube channel shit.
yeah, it's like the music that would play in the beginning of someone like
music, low key type shit,
like gaming music, you know, that she would play at like the 3D intro, you know, with the dubstep track. And then she was, hey guys, what's up? Like that's what I would listen to, you know.
You used to play Minecraft, right?
Yeah, it was literally like all the Minecraft channels. They would get like a 5-second intro with like a song from Monster Cat, and like I still am into Minecraft. Like that's like my childhood game, and I'll just listen to like the intros. Like, oh, that song's cool, and then I'll find it, you know. And it's always just on YouTube, and yeah, that's kind of how because my parents like they don't listen to that shit. Like I anytime riding with them in the car, it would be like rock, you know, like Metallica, Iron Maiden, all that stuff. That's what they listen to. But I remember like there was one time my older cousin he forgot his iPod. You know, it was like the tiny iPod with like it was like a square and a screen.
Nano?
You know, yeah, the Nano I think it's called. Yeah,
Oh.
like he left that shit at home one time, and like, you know, I was like, oh, my older cousin, you know, he's like a cool guy, you know, trying to be like the older person. So I just like put on the headphones and just started like listening to the stuff he had on there, and it was like very like kind of like pop electronic music stuff. And I remember listening to that, I was like, oh shit, I like this, you know. And yeah, from there it's like I found a radio in Brazil that would play like electronic music, and I'd always tell my dad, yo, put that radio on, you know. And he'd be like, fuck that, you know, I don't want to listen to that shit. But yeah, that's kind of how I got into it.
Word. And that actual high school journey between you two, is that kind of like how you guys started talking more about like EDM, like, oh yeah, I like more of this stuff, sharing each other music of what you guys liked and what you guys didn't
yeah,
like,
pretty much.
Yeah.
I don't,
like, you know, we were kind of making songs together here and there.
yeah.
So you guys were already producing at that time.
I mean,
he was like, you know, he was already like doing amazing shit on FL.
Yeah,
you know?
I was like, because I remember as a kid, I downloaded like a random music making software that I found online, and it was just like, it was literally like you would click, you couldn't do anything. It was just like drag loops, you know, and I was just like making beats just because it was fun. And then that was like when I was 11 or 12. I did that for like a month or two, and then I just stopped because it was like, whatever, you know, I'd rather play video games and shit. So I did that for a while, and then when I moved out to China, like the first person I started talking to was this French guy called Lucas, and he was doing like DJ stuff. So when I saw he had like pictures on Instagram with his DJ board and shit, and I was like, all right, I might just get into it, you know, like have something in common. It's like my only friend, completely new environment. And he was like, that's kind of how we started talking, was because of this guy, because he looks
So
like
I was DJing with
Yeah.
with the guy he mentioned, Lucas.
Yeah.
Shout out Lucas later.
Yeah, he kind of brought us together. I feel like we would have ended up talking anyways, but he was kind of like the bridge, which is kind of cool. But yeah, like he was doing DJ stuff, and then I was like, oh, I can get into it, and then I just like cracked FL Studio, it was like FL Studio 11 or something, and I just like started fucking around, and it just kind of became my main thing. I never really thought of like, I'm just not gonna do it anymore. It was just kind of like I started doing it, liked it, kept going for it, and we're here now. Never. It's good.
No, it's really cool. And then how long was that chapter of you guys being in China for? Like how long of the education life was that for y'all? Was that like like a traditional 4 or 5 years?
Oh yeah, it's the same amount of years, but it was from 8th grade to 11th grade.
Yeah, I was there for 2.5 years. So I
left in 10th grade.
After 10th grade, I went back to Brazil. I did my last 2 years of high school back in Brazil.
Yeah. So I finished high school in China. So I went all the way to 12th grade, senior year. And then what was cool was we didn't expect each other to, but we didn't expect both of us to be in California for college, and we were talking to each other on and off when he was in Brazil and I was still going to school in China. Trypbox didn't start yet,
Oh wow! And what college was this again that you guys ended up?
So he ended up going to LMU,
LMU
in LA,
and
then I'm going to IVC, Irvine Valley College.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so it's like an hour apart, but we make the shit happen.
What's your guys' major?
I do recording arts. I originally applied for like film stuff because that's the only thing that I was like, okay, like I don't want to study like economics. I don't want to do like business stuff. Because the main thing I was doing was music, right? And I was like, okay, maybe I can study film and then get onto the like sound part of it or something. And then when I applied to LMU, they sent me an email saying, oh, we actually have the recording arts major, which is part of the film school, but just sound, so it's like sound in film and also in music. So like, audio engineering and stuff. So when I read that, I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to LMU, it's like exactly what I want to do. So yeah, recording arts is essentially, have you guys heard of that before? It's like just you learn all this stuff about sound, like it's like from the recording part of it all the way to like the post, and it's just like film and music. So
I got you.
We went to school for audio production. We went to college for audio production.
I see.
Oh, nice. So so exactly what you want to go into. But we learned
a
little bit of all of the post production, putting music to like commercials, all that shit. And then honestly, we picked up video after videos are different beats, like all.
Oh yeah, dude, I feel that. Like working on film sets and stuff, it's like the director is always like all the time talking to the camera person and the lighting people, like, oh, we got to make it look exactly like this. And I'm always like in the corner on my phone. He's like, all right, Bruno, we're ready. And I'm like, okay. I stand up, press record, and just like record it, because they're like, they don't even know what I'm doing. They're just trusting that I'm not gonna fuck it up because they don't know what's going on. It's like
right.
It's kind of cool though.
Oh yeah, dude. Once like it's like in that work environment of not just sound, not working with people that operate the visuals or something. I mean, everyone's got to be trusted in their role.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like when it comes to the director is kind of giving all the orders, and the director is always talking to the camera person. Like, okay, we got to put the camera here. He's like reviewing the shot, doing practice, like because if there's like camera movements, checking on the lighting. But to me, like, when I'm on set with like the recorder and the mics and shit, I just kind of sit there, and then the director's like, "Okay, we're going for a shot in 2 minutes," and I'm like, "Okay." And the director didn't talk to me for like a whole hour, until the last shot, because it's like people don't, at least in the film industry, like most people don't know what the fuck the sound part is. They're just
right.
like, they're just like, all right, there's that. We got to find somebody to do that, and I'm not gonna like, if we find someone good, we're not gonna care about it. But when it comes to camera, it's like the director has to be on top of that shit like every minute, to make sure it comes out. Because I guess like that's one thing actually, like bad image can be forgivable, but bad sound is not forgivable in a film. Like if you fuck up the sound, the film is like fucked, But
I think there's a lot of details that go into sound that I think the average viewer doesn't really like know or understand. I think it's easier for the average viewer to understand the visual part of a film, but there's a lot of things that go into sound that I think people need to know about.
No, yeah, and even if they probably don't even know about, it's just that they probably don't understand it to the fullest of what's going on. Because I feel that happens to me a lot in movies where I'm watching a scene, you see the visuals, you see what the setting is, what's going on, and I think to myself like, wow, I'm feeling this because I'm not. It's not just the visuals, but the scoring behind the.
Yeah, I mean, music definitely.
Scene. So I think to myself a lot of times when I see certain scenes, because I've seen certain scenes the same way with no sound. I'm just like, damn, I'm not feeling the same. But once you add in like the music, the touches, the foley, all that, like you just really. You really get that immersed experience.
Yeah, sound can make or break a film for sure. Like if you fuck it up, like on set, if you fuck that up, there's always like I've heard this so many times. Like we'll fix it in post. I'm like, dude, I can hear the generator. It sounds like shit. Like fix it in post. Whatever. Just keep going. But it's not always fixable. And if you can't fix it, it's like it kind of ruins it.
I was gonna say, like, have you seen videos of behind the scenes where people are doing Foley sound for movies?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
They always show us too at the class that we took.
Okay.
They always show us like Foley artists.
Yeah.
In these like recording studios, like doing all bunch of stuff to make all these certain sounds.
Yeah.
Like I remember for I think it was like for the Aliens movie, like they were trying to make like something like a splattering effect.
Yeah.
Like an egg splattering effect, and they were using like watermelon, like to just like create that.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Or
you don't even expect it to be that way,
Yeah. Or for example, like they were like doing Foley work for a medieval movie, and like these Vikings had like the chest with like the chain chest and shit. So every time they walk, they carry like the chains like. Every time they were walking to create that effect as if like the sound was coming off of these Vikings' chest.
Yeah.
No, big shout out to all the people that are involved with sound, Foley artists.
Yeah, that shit's crazy.
Post-production editors, like everyone that's like in a team that consists of making movies, like that's hard ass work. And big shout out to all the production studios that do that.
Underappreciated for sure. Like it's an art form of its own, and like if you look at the film industry, like. Look at actors. How many actors are out in LA? Like 100,000 actors. How many camera people? 50,000. Sound people? Good sound people? It's like about 100. Like it's very, very limited. Like,
I think a lot of people also outsource their sound people. Because you could be in another state working on sound. You're just sending over files and working on them and sending them back.
Okay, so
for post stuff for sure. Like you just send it out to like a studio or something to work on it, but. Set, you got to fly someone out,
Like on set,
You know what? Let me ask you guys something real quick. Just that we're on the topic of movies, because have you guys heard about the whole Batwoman situation?
Batwoman on the newest Batman movie,
right? How they got canceled, right? You guys hear about the whole shit? How they're in production, they wrapped up the movie like kind of 80%, and then they ended up just like production just like halted. They stopped not wanting to release the movie. That was the whole thing that happened. Yeah, that was the whole thing that happened. Or that's the whole thing that happens in the movie industry where a movie's talked about, right? It's coming out a certain day, and then next thing you know, production halts or they cancel the movie because they don't think they're going to make that much money back, right? You know what would be fucking whack? If labels like were really aggressive on that shit, like music labels, where they were like, hey, you know what? On second out Trypbox, that December 2022 release that we had, for y'all, you know what? It doesn't seem like we're gonna make our money back. I think we're just gonna cancel the release. Like, how would y'all feel about that?
If I sign a contract, I'm fucking suing the shit out of them, bro.
Right?
It's like you don't think we're gonna make enough money? Rip the contract. I'm gonna make some money off of you, then. Like, bro.
Like, obviously, like the EDM labels, they're not aggressive like that. They are like the studio, like movie hip hop heads, right?
Yeah.
But I've always thought about that, like in music terms, like. Imagine like if music labels were going the entertainment industry route, where like they're not just gonna sign anything unless it's gonna make them like a 4 or 5th of the investment. And
yeah, because it's a difference. It's a different like thing where you sign one song or if you sign your artist name. Because like you see, especially in Brazil, like the popular music that everyone listens to, you'll see that like these people, they're like very humble. The people that are making the music, the artists, they have nothing. And then there's a label that shows up and they're like, okay, we're gonna sign your name for the next 5 years for like $1 million, It's like for someone who barely has anything to eat, they're like, holy shit, this is it. But once you sign that fucking contract, it's like, you're giving me $1 million, but you're making 30 million off of me. I don't get any of that. And on top of it, I don't get any creative freedom. It's like the label is like, okay, we're connecting you with this artist. You're making a song with them. It doesn't matter if you don't want to. It doesn't matter if that artist is like, I don't know, like robbed you in the past or something. Like, it doesn't matter if you hate that person. You're gonna work with them, and like we don't care what you think about it because you signed your name, you know. So
Right.
like when you do that shit, that's when like labels can really go up to you and be like, okay, so you know the album you've been working on the past 6 months, delete that. We don't want it anymore. You know, if they have a contract with your name on it,
or
it's fucked, you know?
I'll read about like a lot of the rappers in the U.S.
Yeah, same shit with
They'll,
them.
they'll get a lot of money, you know, just from signing the contract, but then a lot of that money goes towards like the production for the album and then studio fees, you know, because the label's not paying for that, you know. So they, after everything, they end up with like a little bit of money, you know.
Yeah, and then
It's all in the details of the contract, but you know, there's ways where the label will just kind of rob these artists, and then at the end, they're like, they kind of sign their soul to the label, so they have to, in order to pay that money back, they got to make more albums, you know.
Yeah, and it's tempting. Like if a label came up to me and was like, dude, sign the name Trypbox to our label for $20 million for the next 10 years, I'll be like, bro, like do it. I'll do it right now. I'm gonna go buy myself a house and a car, and then we'll see what happens. You know, like 20 million.
hey, but right here,
You got to look what's in the contract, though.
hey, but right here on the spot, I'm curious. Like, what do you guys think is a fair, like an artist of your guys' caliber? What do you guys think is a fair deal to sign to a label? Like to use your likeliness, and, like exclusively
Sign our artist
release?
name.
Yeah. Like for example, like
Shit.
let's say for example, I'll give you guys a scenario. Like Gold Digger came up to y'all, was like, "Hey, we want to sign y'all for 1 year, 2023. The music that you guys make, it's all ours. We'll give you guys
For
this
2023,
much."
like for 1 year,
Yeah, like I'm
Yeah.
because I'm curious, like
I'll take it.
because this happens. You see this a lot with especially Disciple. They do signings of these big dust-up artists, and they only just release now through Disciple. And I'm always wondering, like, damn, I wonder how much like they're agreeing to or whatnot. And so I'm just curious, like, what you guys think is a fair exchange for an artist and a label
All right,
for a 1 year like contract, like exclusive with a
okay.
label.
I have
What's
a price.
fair?
I have a price in my head. You have one?
I have no perspective on it. Like,
It don't gotta be
I mean,
specifically
I don't
to
know
a
if I
job,
have.
but just a fair contract between a producer and a label.
Yeah.
I'll definitely
'Cause
say
I'm curious. I want to have this conversation.
I want to say, because it's also two of us, you know, so the price would definitely have to be higher.
I'm Gold
because
Digger. I want 6 tracks.
6
for
tracks
2023.
for 6 tracks. Shit,
6 tracks.
$1,000 a track.
Okay,
Or $1,000 each per track.
I was just gonna say 10K.
10K per track.
Yeah.
Per
No.
track?
10K for 6 tracks.
6 tracks. Okay.
Yeah.
So it definitely matters on how many tracks y'all working on, then, right? Correct.
I mean,
so.
yeah, because it's one thing if they're like, we're signing you guys out for 2023 and we want this many tracks, and it's something else where it's like, we're signing your name and any song you guys make, we're gonna release, because we can make one song, you know, and
Yeah.
it's like it's all we're doing. If there's no specifications on the contract, for all you know, we could like grab a random project file that we had from like last year and be like, okay, we're releasing this one.
Yeah.
That's it, and then we're done. And I could charge 20K for it, one song, or I could take 10K and make 20 songs. You know,
If we know what they could do, hey, if you sign, like, hey, we don't like it, make me another one. You know, and that's the thing too, that like the details got to be worked out.
Yeah,
There's
so
a
that's
negotiation agreement.
that's where I would get like a lawyer to make sure that like whatever's in the contract, it's like they're not gonna make us work too much, but like the work that they make us do, we have creative freedom over it, because like, you know, we're trying to get songs signed to labels, and I mean that's one big thing. It's like I tend to like exercise my creativity in the song a little too much sometimes, and he's like, okay, if you want to get this signed to a decent label, we gotta like pull back a little bit, you know, make it a little listener friendly. So finding that balance is definitely like good. And if we were to sign to a label, we would definitely cater to their sound. You know, like Gold Digger is like bass is already our sound anyway. So Gold Digger is a good example, because we can just do whatever we're doing right now. You know?
Gold Digger, like shout out Gold Digger, by the way. But they're very accepting for like our melodic sound that we put out.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, you would categorize that as, from what I've been hearing, the terms like color house, pastel house, like
Yeah,
or what would you guys classify it as? Like,
color house, pastel house.
because I
You
see
know,
a lot of different terms being thrown out for the style.
Mhm.
Style,
Yeah.
that you guys.
I mean,
pick.
for a while, I was kind of just calling it like future bass house or future melodic bass house, but
Okay.
color house is a good term, or pastel house.
Yeah.
You know, I think the big difference between color house and pastel house is color house is just a little bit more bassier, a little bit more harder, while pastel house is just a little more softer. You know,
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd say
Like-
pastel is like vibier. Color house, I think like just the word color is like from color base, you know. So if you got
Right.
grab a color based track like chime, and then you just put that at 128 and put a house beat on top of it. Like that's how I
Okay.
would classify
Like,
color house.
have you heard of chime or like Ace Aura?
Yeah, chime, Ace, aura. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're all like
they're doing that color.
Yeah, future rhythm, color based. Yeah,
Future rhythm. That's another one too.
Yeah, melodic dubs. Yeah, they usually throw like the three terms I hear with that style of music is melodic rhythm, melodic dubstep, future rhythm,
Future rhythm. Yeah.
or color
Color based.
Color based.
color based. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like four fucking.
Yeah, there's
so many fucking terms to
at the end of the day, like it's like, you know, this might not even make sense, but like if you think about it, there's like songs being at some point, all that stuff could just be generalized as dubstep, right? Just like
for sure.
all shades of the color blue are blue, right?
For sure.
Like there's light blue, there's dark blue, navy blue, whatever. But there's some point where it's like a certain part of it kind of stands out and it starts to become something else. And that's like not official. It's like from this day on, color base exists. Or like from this day on, this stuff, all these artists, they're this style. It's more of like over time, general understanding. Because I think green used to just be blue until they found, like, this is like way back and like I don't know how long ago, but like people would see, they would just categorize green and blue as like the same color, just like different shades of that color, you know. And then they found,
I see what you're saying. Yeah,
or like, I think it was the other way around. Anyways, like once they found this ore that was like blue and they could like paint shit with it, they were like, okay, this is its own color now. And then from that, it's like whatever was, if you look at the color wheel, whatever was all like that green and blue area, that was all like whatever green. And then as soon as they found that ore, and they're like, oh, there's a distinction between this stuff. Just like maybe 100 years from now, what we categorize as all the shades of red might become red and whatever other color they decide to name it, you know? And I don't know if that makes sense, but like,
no, it does make sense.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
get what
it
you
makes sense.
I think like coming up with a name for certain subgenres, it just gets complicated sometimes, you know,
Yeah.
because we're inspired by so many things, and you know,
Sure.
this little
Yeah.
part could be inspired from dubstep, and this little
Yeah.
part could be inspired by breakbeats, and this part was inspired by future bass. So it's like, you know, at the end of the day, it's just like feel good music, you know.
Mhm.
And you know, we'll give it a name, color bass, or you know, color house or pastel house. But
yeah,
you know, you listen to a bunch of pastel house, and you can see there's like different types of pastel house. You know,
Oh, I see.
there's like you listen to 50 or 100 color house songs, and you'll see, you know, some of them are slightly different and maybe are taking inspiration from other genres too. So it's cool. It's just like there's just a wide spectrum of different sounds for these subgenres, you know.
So that makes me a little curious because you mentioned earlier that you had showed him an EDM track back in China.
Mm-hmm.
It was house, like electronic, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
More on the house.
House and house stuff.
House,
And you didn't
it was a deep house song.
Yeah,
and you didn't
Deep house
like
song.
it.
Yeah,
'Cause
I
you were
don't-
messing more with that bass.
Yeah.
Yeah, like to me, like house was just like not necessarily repetitive, but I remember like first listening to like Jaws and F Word, like what?
Party.
Yeah, like that, like really raw bass stuff. Like I would hear that, I'm like, dude, that's literally off key. How are you enjoying that? You know, because to me, it's like all about the melodies. You know, all about the intricacy of it. But then when I listen to house, maybe not deep house was more like melodic in a sense, but like bass house when it first came out, right? Like Jaws, F Word, like
Sure.
like that stuff.
You know,
Yeah.
Rock Party.
Yeah. I like the rock, the party. Yeah.
Yeah.
That shit was like blowing up everywhere for a minute.
Yeah, and when I first heard that, like nowadays, man, it doesn't hit anymore because it's kind of outdated to me. But like when it first came out and it was hot, you know, I would listen to that shit and I'm like, bro, that's literally like off key to me personally. You know, yeah. I would hear it. Yeah, I'd be like, bro, that does not hit for me. It was like not good, but over time it grew into me. You know, like
Yeah, I was about to say because that's what made me curious when you gave me that story that you didn't like that certain style, but you guys are now together in a project making a house.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
I don't know if I influenced you. You
No,
know, got you into the
definitely,
house
like-
stuff.
I think the fact that I went back to Brazil,
House and techno is really big.
in Brazil. So there's like the popular music that everyone listens to, which we call just funk. You know, it's not actually funk like the funk that.
It's like baile funk.
Yeah, exactly. It's like dum, da, da,
In
dum,
Brazil.
da. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's what everyone listens to. It's like the most popular genre.
Is Mumaton pretty big out in Brazil?
What's up?
Mumaton.
Not them. Like I feel like that's starting to also kind of grow. But if you hear mumbaton or like reggaeton, that's always like it's like a take on that with the like Brazilian style of like from the funk, you know?
Funk ballet like remixes.
Yeah, exactly.
I've always wondered what kind of what style of dance music is much more popular out in Brazil.
So-
especially in China. I was curious to hear like
Yeah, in China people listen to everything, but like in
okay.
Brazil, it's like if this song has more than like 3 elements at the same time, dubstep automatically. It's like you would listen to like a bass house song. I remember this is like distinct to me. I went to this like it was like a 5-day show in Brazil, right? And in the
What
first
city in Brazil we're talking about? Like where we stay? Where in
well,
Brazil?
I grew up in São Paulo, but
São Paulo, okay.
this just happened to be in Rio. So
Word.
I was out there with some friends, you know. First night was very big Brazilian DJ duo. They're doing like the house stuff, you know, Brazilian bass. Kind of you ever heard of Brazilian bass?
It sounds familiar.
It's like
I
it
don't
developed
know.
into slap house. At this point,
house.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
At this point, it's just kind of like slap house, but like the older version of it, right? And so that's like really popping. When they were playing, the show was packed out to the back, right? Like 10,000 people. But then on the third day, it was DJ Snake, which arguably is so much bigger than anyone else that was
Right.
playing, right? But when it was DJ Snake, it was like not even a third of the way packed, you know? And being like I was out there and I was listening to it, you know, he was playing some bass house stuff, some bass stuff, and I was like going hard, but I could hear the people next to me going like, bro, get this guy out of here. Like, what the fuck is he playing right now? Because nobody, it's like, if it's a little too extreme, too intense to like the general Brazilian, like average EDM listener, they're just gonna be like, oh no, this is like way too much. I just want to like
It
groove.
doesn't even matter who's playing. Like
Yeah, it
it's
doesn't
like
matter
too
who's
much.
playing. Doesn't matter if it's a house beat. Doesn't matter if it's like if it has. That's what I'm like. If it has more than just like a vocal and the bass line and the drums, it's already like, oh fuck, that's like a little much, you know. Which is, I guess, kind of sucks. It's like, you know, have an open mind. I guess I didn't have an open mind to house music at first, but
So would you say a lot of the much more house music you hear out there in Brazil is more like minimal? House,
yeah,
where it's like not as many elements going on.
I
It's
think
just
it's
like
starting-
the groove, the bass line.
yeah,
the
it's starting to
percussion.
gravitate more towards like the tech house. I'd say. I mean, I haven't gone to shows out like to a proper like EDM rave in Brazil in a while, but
Trypbox at Brazil pretty soon.
yeah. Hey, if we do go down to Brazil, if it's the same situation that it was when I was there, we're definitely gonna have to cater. Otherwise, people are gonna like be like, get these guys out of here, bro. Because if we're playing the hard shit, people are gonna be like, fuck these guys, you know, fuck these guys. But
Okay.
We'll do
Okay.
more melodic, more.
Yeah.
We'll take a step back more.
Yeah, I'd say-
clean it up a bit. You know?
like if you're going to a rave in Brazil, definitely do like a lot of psytrance, a lot of
Interesting.
techno.
Okay.
Yeah, because for some reason psytrance is not intense, but like bass house is. I don't know why.
You know, I
it
went
is,
to
you know?
Mexico and my cousin was showing me a lot of psytrance shit. So
Yeah.
I believe you, bro. In terms of like Latin, like South America, like more
Yeah.
towards like that.
Yeah.
There.
Mhm.
They definitely like more of like that psytrance,
Yeah, it's
the
more
tech, the minimal jungle house type of
Yeah,
like
like-
techno, hard
Yeah.
style.
more repetitive, more progressive kind of stuff. It's just like
and maybe
more
maybe
fitting,
less
I
like
guess.
sound design. You know, if you're talking about bass house,
Yeah,
there's a
that's
lot
what
of
I'm-
crazy.
that's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
if there's anything,
crazy
any sound
sounds.
design that's like just a little bit above like what you expect, it's already like, whoa, are you playing dubstep right now, bro? And it's
Yeah.
like, no, it's literally house, you know. But
Right.
it's like,
So y'all all aware, right? So when you go to like certain locations, there's certain things that you guys probably shouldn't play just because of the area and the environment. Because I talk with a lot of DJs and artists that they're like more on the little stubborn side of things. Where like, oh, I don't care where I play. Like I'm gonna go there and play what I play. But a lot of times they do these events and it kind of backfires on them because they don't know that the audience there may not really dig your stubborn side, right? Like they may not like what you want to play, and it seems like you guys
Yeah.
are willing to make like some compromises to
I
make
think-
sure like the audience are are satisfied with what they want to hear, but also like I'm pretty sure you guys are finding sections to implement that Trypbox style, that Trypbox sound in there as well. I think that's real cool that you. It seems like you guys do make the little like creative sacrifices. I feel like that makes you the much more better DJ. Yeah, you're able to go in there, still signify your sound, but still be able to give the crowd what they want.
Yeah, I was gonna say like, if you're a DJ and you're like, I don't care if it's all grandmas in the crowd, I'm gonna play some hard dubstep shit. It's like you're not a good DJ then. Like you're playing music for the crowd that's there. If you want to play music for yourself, you want to hear just the shit you want to hear, like fucking play at home, you know, or like get some friends to come over and listen to your shit. But if you're playing for a crowd, like at the end of the day, maybe you start to set off a specific way. And I'm not even that good at DJing. Like I'll say he's definitely the better DJ. But to my understanding, like you start off a certain way and then you just kind of, I'm terrible at reading the room. If I'm DJing, I'm always like staring at the decks, you know, making sure everything's right. I'm not necessarily reading the crowd as much. That's what he does more, you know.
But like I choose this song, it's like, no, that's not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like
I'm actually curious. What are the roles of you guys' when you guys go up like behind some decks? I mean, when you guys do go out, do you guys give each other like certain roles as to like, oh, you load the track for the first 10 minutes, and then I'll just like read the crowd? Like, I'm curious about that dynamic when you guys behind the decks.
I mean, I'd say Bruno's getting better at DJing currently.
Yeah,
you know? And like, you know, a few months ago, you know, when we were playing like the 18 plus shows, you know, and it was like the first few times we were DJing for crowds. I think I was like choosing more of the songs, you know.
Okay.
And you know, I'd say you know how to transition, you know, between songs.
No, yeah, I mean,
at least the basics of it.
I started DJing around the same time and picked up FL Studio back in China, and like back then, I mean, like I could plan out a set. And if I knew where my transitions were, I could play for as long as I planned out the set. But when it comes to like freestyling on the fly, you know, that's like his.
I think that definitely comes with experience. Like, the whole reading the crowd. That's like some shit that you could try to prepare as like someone that doesn't do that or regularly, but that's like the shit that you.
That's what makes the best DJ, man. Yeah. Like if you're gonna play a 5-hour set and you're like, you got all that shit planned out, all your cues set up, and you're just going through it. It's like, bro, into maybe you'll get lucky and everyone is gonna be enjoying it all the way through. But if you're like into hour 2 of your set, and it's like people are not like they're like trying to listen to some other shit, and you can't accommodate for that. People are not going to like you as a DJ, at least, you know? Like, people are going to look at you and be like, this guy did not read the crowd, you know? This guy was just kind of doing his own thing.
I was going to say as well, like, I'm going to rewind the timeline a bit. Like, I started off DJing in China, and I would say, like...
And that game before producing?
Yeah, before producing and everything else. And I'd say I you know, learned a lot, and I was able to learn how to read a crowd and basically freestyle, you know. I would consider myself like I would consider myself as at least like, you know, above average for freestyling, you know. Nowadays, the most I plan for a set is like maybe the first 3 or 4 tracks, and then the rest is just reading the room and you know, choosing songs that are in key. I always like to mix in key.
All right.
And yeah, I don't know. I think I found a lot of good feedback from when I freestyle a set, you know.
And you're
trying to implement that on Bruno too, you know.
Word. And you're DJing just like regular like parties out in China, or
so I used
like,
okay.
I'm curious.
So I loved house back in China, but when we were there, I would say when we were in China, that was like when bass music was blowing up.
But Trypbox hasn't started yet, right?
Trypbox didn't start.
Okay.
So
Trypbox only started
I was
like
DJing on my own.
Gotcha.
Trypbox started when I moved out here. Like it probably started during COVID, right? Or maybe was it before?
Trypbox started 2020 during COVID. 2020 October.
But you were DJing in China.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so like long story short, I was DJing in clubs since I was 17. Maybe like late 16. Like, oh, you know what? I was 16 in November of like 2015 or something like that.
You were DJing already in clubs in China.
In clubs. There's no age limit in the clubs in China, by the way.
Technically there is, but
technically
for foreigners,
on like, you know, on a piece of paper.
Shit.
Yeah.
I remember the first show I went to, I was like 13. I pulled up with my dad when
in China.
I pulled up with my dad when the door opened, bro. Like, it's like clearly this fucking kid is like not over the right age, but they just
Right.
fucking they were like, okay, you got the ticket, come in. You know?
Yeah. I was gonna say like there were some funny moments. Like I think our first time going to a club, we were trying to like network, and we're just like 15, 16,
I was like
and
14.
we saw this like local like tech house techno night, and we just went there, and it was like
And this was the year. What year was this?
probably like
2015, 2016.
yeah,
okay.
8th grade, 9th grade.
Okay.
His dad was just in the back of the club, just kind of watching us.
Yeah, my dad would be like, okay, you want to go out? You can go out. But like,
Yeah,
I'm for the first few times at least going to like a club, he would pull up with me, just sit in the back, like have some beers, you know, enjoy the night, and like just making sure I'm not like doing some dumb shit, you know.
a lot of the DJs in China are all like foreigners. There's a lot of foreigners that will come over to China, and like their main job during the day is like they'll be like an English teacher, or like they're working for like a bank, or like they're a consultant or a translator or something along those lines. A lot of English teachers, by the way. Shout out to all the English teachers, though.
A lot of English teachers during the day and DJs at night.
Yeah, so like
Nice.
we went to this house in techno night, and we were like trying to network. You know, just imagine like two little kids
What part
basically.
of China was this?
Shanghai, China.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
so really great city.
I'd say that's like the biggest one for this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, word. All right.
But we show up, and like there's like these two DJs on the stage. And they look like they're in their 30s, and we're just like vibing, and then they come off the stage, and like we try to exchange contacts. Never really went anywhere, I think the moment they saw us, they were just like,
Like, nah, these kids.
I mean, they weren't like.
they were being nice though.
Yeah, they weren't dicks about it,
They
but-
gave us their cards, they're like, oh yeah, we'll talk, they'd be nice, but yeah, I remember like that's kind of when I started getting into DJing. So like I would send them my mix, and I'd be like, oh, can I get some feedback? Please, and they would get back to me like a few weeks later, and you can tell like they didn't want to check it out.
And you were just sending it to them so that for you to play.
Yeah, to play and just kind of just build a relationship, kind of know.
What was the
Okay.
regular demographic for people going to these clubs? Because you say anyone could just go, so
Yeah,
I'm just curious, how's that crowd looking like?
I would say
in
like
Shanghai?
a lot of the Chinese kids, they don't really go out until like they're 18, 19, 20.
Okay.
So, but a lot of like the foreign kids, you'll see.
Is that more of like they just don't want to do, or is that just like parents being strict?
I
Type
think
of
it's just
thing?
parents being strict,
Like,
and it's just
education first, then party
culture.
later?
Just culture. They just
Okay.
they may just their own free will. They just don't feel like going to a club.
I get that. Okay.
But like for the foreigners, we were like going to
We're
bars,
out
and
here,
like
yeah.
we're out here, we can do shit. Like
yeah.
nobody can say no.
Sounds like the American way, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I saw Dead Mouse when I was 15.
Are you serious?
Yeah, in the club.
That's tight.
Headline. It was my first time going in the club, and my mom took me.
Your mom
took
went
me.
with you to the
Mom
show.
went there. Yeah, she was like hanging out at the bar, just kind of watching me. I just went to the front, just kind of just raging.
Were you the only
Yeah.
kid though that had their moms like taking out, or was there other kids that like you would obviously see like their dads or their moms like hanging out?
I
at the
feel
bar,
like
too?
people like
That the mom and dads coming to the clubs that died down quickly. That was like the first like one. or two times.
same for my dad. It's like the first few times he would pull up, and then he would see like my dad was like, "There's no way you're staying past 3 a.m." because like to him that's like past that time only the fucked up people are out.
Right, yeah.
So like he's like, okay,
really
you
got
can
no
go to
reason.
this shit, I can tell you're not gonna fucking like do stupid stuff, but
It's pretty safe
You
in
know?
China, by the way.
yeah,
So,
it's
like,
super safe.
once our parents saw like how it was, like they saw it was gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Like I would say like I would be more worried about my kids going to like clubs here than going to clubs in China.
Because I was about to say it's definitely much more stricter in terms of like people can't just be wilding out like at a club or like be doing all these party favors. There's a different government, different
Yeah,
Yeah.
different laws in effect. Because
There's a big drug scene out there, but
yeah, but that's
It's
I
everywhere.
think
It's
like that's the government cares more about like the citizens. Like if you're just like an international kid out there, like when I left, people started like crack down on it, but when I was out there, like
we were there for like I call it like the golden years.
yeah, definitely.
EDM was rising, and like there was every weekend there was just big DJs coming
bro,
through.
you mentioned 2015, dude. That was like I remember that wave of music coming out 2015.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like
Yeah.
Flume, What's So Now was like a thing.
Yeah.
Jack U had just released their fucking album with Justin Bieber and shit.
Yeah,
so,
man.
I mean, it was like that era. So yeah, it was
That's
definitely.
crazy.
Damn, I want.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's a real cool experience.
Yeah, tickets were cheap. You know, one weekend
Yeah.
we would see Jaws. One weekend we would see Skrillex.
Both you two together would start going, or just.
Yeah, we were going to
We would
events.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think like that was the only. I honestly don't even recall going to these places with anyone else. Like,
Yeah.
because it was just. Yeah, I'll definitely not like pull up alone. Like that's never been my thing. Like go to a show alone. I don't know. I just don't enjoy that. But if going to those shows, I definitely remember a few times we couldn't get in, and I was always with you. You know.
Oh yeah, so they do have like high end clubs where if you're underage, like they just say no to you. You know.
I got you. Yeah.
But most of the
sure.
clubs they were chill about it. You know, we'd see like freaking Borgore one weekend. That was
That's
funny.
fucking clean.
Yeah.
That's cool. So like that's cool that.
And dude, they pay bank for all these DJs to come out because Chinese people are rich. They're just rich.
I mean, shit, bro. I mean, we're us Americans are in debt with China. So I mean,
Yeah.
they getting money always, bro.
Yeah,
life
yeah.
right now. So like they stacked.
Yeah.
I think that's real cool. I mean, hearing that you went to go see Deadmau5, Borgore, all these people, I think that's real cool to see to understand a little bit more of the China market. Because I've always just focused on like the lineups over here in the United States, but to hear
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
That's
If
real
you live
cool
out
to-
here, that's
yeah.
what you should focus on. You know.
I think that's hella real cool to hear that Deadmau5 have gone out there. I didn't realize Borgore had gone out to China.
Literally
That's cool.
almost every single like B plus DJ it has gone to China probably. You know.
I guess I never realized.
Like China's a big market, it's kind of died down because of COVID, but like it's very political out there. A lot of the clubs they'll base their bookings off of the top 100 DJs. So like if you look into it, I'm sure you'll find forums where people will talk about how like a lot of the times the top 100 DJs lists, they were rigged so that it would benefit them for the China market.
Oh, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
So,
I mean,
like,
I can see that.
One DJ in producer in particular that like spoke out about it was Blau, 3LAU.
Yeah,
Blau.
dude, king of mashups, bro.
Yeah. So he was
game was on point.
he was playing a lot in China, and then eventually they stopped booking him because he wasn't on the top 100 DJs list, you know. And he I think he did like a little Twitter post about it, you know. He's like a lot of these DJs they pay, you know, top 100 DJs a lot of money so that they can be on a good number on the list, just so they can get a nice booking in China. And when you go out there, man, like flights are paid for. You're at like a Hyatt hotel on the top
Yeah,
floor.
hospitality is like fucking A1
Yeah,
over there. for
yeah.
sure.
You get your own personal driver, nice, you know, breakfast in the morning. You know, you're gonna have
Someone
people take you
fucking
around.
doing the cues on record box for you. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Exactly. So
That's real tight.
it's
So-
a crazy experience out there.
So you stayed in China, finished high school. You went back to Brazil for the last 2 years, finished high school.
Mm-hmm.
Then you guys went out to study college education in LA. So I'm just curious, when did that Trypbox Project form? Like, when was what led to you guys deciding to be like, you know what, let's come together, let's dedicate some time and some music to push out as one project, a house project under
Yeah,
Trypbox.
exactly, yeah.
How did that come to be?
Yeah. So like, we both started college. We started college like 2019,
Yeah.
right? Late 2019, and at the beginning, like we didn't start Trypbox until late 2020. But at the beginning, I was just like, I saw that house was growing a lot, and I noticed in China that my heart belonged in house music, or at least stuff that was 4 on the floor, you know.
Okay.
So coming out here, I was like, hey, you know, let me give house a chance. I would do like underground shows in China where I would play house, but like the big shows were always the dubstep shows, the trap shows, you know. So coming out here, I was like, hey, you know, I think like maybe can do more with the house stuff, you know. I was out here networking. I might have gotten a fake ID.
I might have, yeah.
Yeah.
Comedy.
And so like I was out here networking. I was with you know, this particular company in Orange County promoting for them. Maybe you know, I don't want to say their name.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's like pretty
NOC,
obvious, yeah.
you know. I was with them for like 4 months, and you know, they're like, sell tickets to play shows, and
I remember. I remember
I'd be
now.
like that, yeah.
yeah,
Been there.
and after 4 months, nothing ever happened, you know, and like eventually I found out that like these rich kids within, you know, the group, they would just buy out tickets, you know, 50,
Dude,
50, 60 tickets, and then they would get direct support for like, you know, this big rhythm artist or big dubstep artist, big house artist, you know.
Shit is whack, bro.
Yeah, but it's all part of the learning process coming out here, you know. I think it's good that I got that out of the way. I'm not with them
Right.
anymore.
Honestly, I'm just saying for all the promoters that do that shit is whack.
Yeah.
It is. It really is.
So
bro.
whack, bro.
Fuck that.
Because if you can literally just pay yourself to just be direct support, and this is what this industry literally is,
I mean, it kind of is.
it's
I mean,
whack as fuck.
if you have money, you can. Like, if I had unlimited money, I could buy contracts with major labels. You know, I could fucking buy the biggest club. You know, if I have unlimited money, I'll just buy the club and I'll
book yourself.
yeah. Like money makes the world go around, I guess.
But that's crazy. It gives you much more of an insight as to the other people on the other side of the show, right? That are throwing it. You know, you start to get and understand, like, oh wow, okay, like it seems like the people that are only getting these opportunities are the people that are willing to pay a little bit much more, or willing to pay to play.
Well, yeah, because it's a business.
Definitely speeds up the process. you
It's
know?
not the fault. It's not necessarily like the biggest like blame on the DJs that are paying to play, but it's also the promoters that are encouraging that shit. You know, like
Yeah.
they're the ones that are actually like
Because
boosting that shit. That's
money.
you know,
Like it's a
Yeah.
business. You know, business are not. And I guess businesses should kind of concern themselves with like how they practice like the ethics of their business. But like at the end of the day, if something, because you know it's not harming anyone. You know, nobody's dying from that. Like it's not a major problem. It's kind of a dick move. You know, it's not cool to do that shit. But if it makes your business more money, you know, like why the fuck wouldn't you? Like if I had a business, if I was running a business and it's like, dude, if this business goes bankrupt, I'm fucked. I would find any shortcuts I could to like make more money, you know.
I understand that. I
But
feel that.
then if you're gonna do that shit, maybe you shouldn't even start it, you know. If
That's
you're
what I'm saying. Like the thing is that like because I throw shows with low end, and I've gotten messages where people are like, "Dude, I'm willing to pay you just to get a slot," and I'm just like, "Dude, are you kidding me?" Like in my head, I respond in a different way, but my head was like, "Dude, are you kidding me? You're literally like offering me money so you can play a spot." Like
Mhm.
I come from a different background, dude. Like I earn. I don't want that shit handed to me, you know. Like
Yeah,
and I don't want to like.
That's the right attitude.
And some people expect shit to get handed to them, and that's not the way. At least I was raised. So
that's
when-
respectable,
No
though.
handouts.
So
No
that's why
handouts.
some people. I won't say any names, but I know some people when they come up to me like, "Hey, dude, let me. I want to play the next show, or I want to collab with you, or whatever. I want to get on this podcast with you, whatever the case may be." You know, it's just like
Mhm.
one of the things is like, whatever decision that you do, you know, not many people will agree with what you do, whatnot.
Yeah,
But yeah, it could be definitely frustrating, bro, because some people just want to get the opportunity, and some people don't care whether if it's hurting someone else or if it's like, they don't care if they earned it. Like
yeah,
sometimes they just want to get they want to get that shortcut, and some promoters don't care. They don't care about the integrity of the lineup.
Yeah.
They don't care about the integrity of the experience of the listener.
yeah. That's what I'm
coming in.
saying. They're
Like-
there to make money. That's like not about anything else, really. Like if it's your business, but that's the thing. Like if you, it's respectable to see that you wouldn't do that simply because it's not. I don't want to say ethically or morally incorrect, but like it's
Like from the business standpoint,
Yeah,
some people would be
that's what
like,
I'm saying.
"Oh, dude, are you not going to take like that money, right?" But for me, there's a certain line where like yeah, I guess in this business you could generate revenue in certain ways, right? And but like I didn't really get into that primarily. I primarily get into it so that way I could bring like a real cool lineup.
yeah. Even if you're not making money,
I mean, like for example, like I get a lot of people that'll come up to me and be like, dude, what do I have to do to like play low end, or what I gotta do?
Mhm.
What I gotta do to play shows? Like, give me some advice.
Like they just want the instructions.
Yeah, I'm just like, all right, dude, are you working on music? And all these people, they're not working on music. And I tell them a lot of times, like, dude, you need to get the music done. Like, the DJing shit is gonna get you like only so far.
that's how you perform your music. You know,
Right,
That's
right.
the performance. part of
That's the performer part. But the whole like getting the word out there that you're a producer or artist, like to get your name out in states like Denver, San Francisco, Las Vegas. Like if people are not seeing you DJing, like your brand is not like covering ground. Your music is gonna be like spreading around everywhere once you get that established. Like I always tell people, dude, like, what's your goal as in the EDM? What do you want to do? I want to play EDC. All right, cool. You got the DJing down. Where's the music? Like I've been telling you, make music. It's been a year. You're still just uploading mixes. You're still just trying to learn all these like crazy ass chops. You're still trying to like do all these crazy ass shit with DJing, and it's getting you places. But you want to play out of state. You want to play these lost lands. You want to play EDC. Most of that lineup consists of people that have music.
Yeah, I was gonna say like look at the lineup and just be like, what do these guys these artists have that I don't? There's no way they're booking like a good slot at EDC for a person that's strictly a DJ. You know,
how many of these people are making their music? Like at least 95%.
People become fans of artists because of their music. At least like the mainstream shit. Like reason why Martin Garrix is famous is not because he's a good DJ. I'm sure he's good. I've never seen him play, but like if he didn't release Animals, no, I wouldn't fucking know Martin Garrix. I don't think, you know, like, and that's just that. If you look at the big names on every EDC poster, be sure that like all those big names are gonna have one song with at least like 100 million on Spotify. You know, like that's how you like add value to your name, I guess. You know,
and I feel like if you're not making music and you're like doing good within the like, you know, the music industry and you're DJing dope shows, you're probably doing other things in the music industry, you know, working at some, you know, Insomniac or whatever, you know.
No, yeah, I mean, again, like
to compensate for that.
I think when it comes to music, being a music producer, I feel like the music has to be the foundation, and everything else that you could do to kind of elevate yourself to get those opportunities. Yeah, much power to you.
Yeah, or be a TikTok DJ.
Right. But yeah, I mean, as Trypbox, I mean, that's crazy that you guys. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, it's not surprising that you guys came across a situation like that where you play a show, trying to do a certain promotion company, an event company, and you know there's certain ways that they run shit, and you know it's not really in the favor of the honest working music producer.
I mean, because that's what I was saying is it's a business, you know, like it's not if the person genuinely cares about the cause, it's one thing, but if you start that just to make, if you're trying to find the way to make the most money as fast as possible, like you're gonna have to, like, you're not gonna look at the genuine people that are trying to do shit because they love it. You're gonna look at the people who got money to put into your business, you know, which kind of sucks, but it's how the world goes around, I guess, you know.
And you guys were working on music during this time after you guys exited out of that as well?
It was just, I don't know if we had any songs out yet, but like,
no songs yet. Yeah. But like I was gonna say, like back to how like Trypbox came together.
Yeah.
You know, like you know, Bruno started making music like way before me, and like when we were in the US already, he was already creating like crazy music. You know, I would say
not
like
focused though. It was like all over the place.
All over the place.
Was one of the big flaws.
I would even call it like, you know, it was like producer porn, just you know, all the producers.
All the categories.
If a producer heard his shit, they would go crazy. You know what I mean?
House, I had fucking dubstep, trap, future bass, all the random shit. You know, no brand. Essentially.
You were just beat making type shit.
Yeah. I was just making whatever I wanted to make, releasing, not caring about the brand. You know, which is why like it wasn't going anywhere. Essentially, you know.
And then like for me, I was, you know, I wouldn't say I was creating like, you know, dope ass songs, mixed and mastered, ready to be like, you know, put on labels. I was creating like cool edits and mashups, and you know, I was kind of doing good with like the networking side and everything. And I think it came to a point where like I was like, damn, like, you know, I need something to maybe potentially elevate the production side, because I have all this like networking stuff I'm doing, but like it could really help if we had all these tracks that
literally like yin and yang. Like it's like I do my shit like music. He does networking well. You know, one person does one thing well, one person does one thing well. Just like meant to be.
Yeah. So I saw Bruno was, you know, just creating all sorts of sounds and styles, and you know, being like I was already like, I would consider myself already good at DJing at the time. I kind of, you know, knew what was, you know, what would fit on labels, what would work. But I also was looking to, you know, create a new sound as well, you know. So I think that's kind of when we started working together. trying to create that like Trypbox sound and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, and I even mentioned it before.
like-
It's like I go kind of like too creative sometimes, too experimental.
Yeah, and
And
I
then
would help
he's like, oh, you gotta find a middle ground, 'cause
find
otherwise it's like,
tone it down a bit,
Yeah.
like, oh, this part's too crazy, like this fill, like simple it up, make it like slightly simpler,
yeah, because he definitely listens to way more music than I do. Like,
How often are
Wayne-
clashes happening when you guys are producing with each other, like creatively? Like, is that like a talk that happens frequently, or is that just like something that like, are you guys usually on the same page creative wise?
I think when we do have clashes, it gets solved like pretty quickly, like
yeah,
Is that frequent though?
Mhm.
Like when you guys have that talk of getting a project, like
sometimes
does that
to me, like when something that's kind of frustrating is like I spend a long time working on something, I'm like, dude, this is done. Like I know for a fact, like this sounds perfect, flawless. I send it to him and he's like, oh, get on a Zoom call, fix a few things. And I'm just like, no, nothing to fix, But at the end of the day, it's like,
but I want to say like the choices that I've made, I think helped us
yeah,
get onto the labels that
I mean,
we're on now.
it's our music, like at the end of the day, it has to be if you call it a product or art, it has to be something that both of us are on board with. If I'm making a song and he's like, it's never come to the point where it's like, oh, I don't like this idea at all, let's scrap that. It's always like, make something and then he kind of gives his input, It's like, oh, I think this should be here, this should be there. Because, listening to a lot of music, you have a lot of like stuff to pull from to be like, oh, I think like maybe this fill or like this sound could be over there or like repeat it here different, and it's like an extra pair of ears is really helpful sometimes, especially because I don't like when I'm listening to music, if I'm like skating or like going on a run, I usually just listen to like rap, Brazilian rap, or like American rap. I don't usually listen to house that much because I don't know. I just enjoy if I'm doing that kind of stuff, like going on a run, I like listening to like more like trap stuff, So I don't necessarily have the ear for what's the like standard for like that genre, if that makes sense. So
I was also some kind of curious. So when you guys are making music, and then you have your input. Is that input like, oh well, I feel like it should be like this, I'll work on it, or are you the one time, oh, like this should be worked on, like work on this and then I'll check it out. Like, do you guys do particular different roles in production, or do you guys do equal work production wise, or do you do more like the orchestrating of the?
He does more of the production, and then I'll get input. I'll give input on the arrangement. Once in a while, I might create something simple on Ableton and then send it over to him.
Yeah.
Okay.
You say Ableton?
Yeah, Ableton.
Get this guy out of the room.
Yeah. Yeah, I started on Ableton. So
Right, cool,
Ableton is nice though,
Hey,
but I
but
like FL.
hey,
I like FL though.
Yeah, you better like
Ableton,
Not everyone can be cool.
objectively, Ableton is technically the better, like more industry standard kind of software, but the FL Studio just has those one. Just the fact, you guys ever mess with Patcher?
Yeah.
Just the fact that you can create your own plugins off that shit without knowing how to code. That on itself is already like, all right, fuck you, Ableton. FL Studio is the GOAT,
It's definitely a unique thing that most DAWs don't have.
Yeah.
Other than Pro Tools. Pro Tools is like the...
Yeah, I have to learn Pro Tools for my classes, and like it makes sense, like the way it's displayed, and you see almost like an Ableton as well, because Pro Tools is the actual industry standard. If you go to a studio, they're gonna have Pro Tools on there, and given that, you can see like Ableton is kind of designed after that, Logic is kind of designed after that. FL Studio is really the only one where it's like kind of like random as fuck, like. Yeah, just like you can even see right there, like the little wire going in the bottom, like that. When I see Ableton producers, they're like make videos. Oh, Ableton producer tries to make a track on FL Studio. They like look at that shit and they're like, "What the fuck is this?" And to me, it's always like it's simple. It's just you click, drag, and it's done. But when you really like analyze it try to see it from their perspective, you're like, yeah, this shit's actually kind of random.
Yeah, I feel the same way when I've hopped into Ableton a couple times. I'm just like why am I doing this?
I tried once and then I was like, I'm not about to start over, dude. I don't even know how to make a MIDI clip, so I just like was
I
like,
don't know. I
not
think
doing
someone was
that.
something like, dude, it was just easy to learn, bro. Just try it. I was like, oh, bet. Like, you don't think I can learn it? So I tried to learn it. I didn't learn it.
Yeah.
I went back to Alpha Studio.
I think FL is easier. So props to FL.
Word, okay. So when you guys are making music, you're more so like the orchestrating type of like, okay, I think this is where it's at, or we need to go into this direction. And then you do more of the technical stuff when it comes to the projects.
Well, yeah, definitely like mixing and mastering. I'd say I'm not even that good at mastering. Like
one thing I've noticed since like the start of Trypbox is a lot of people will comment on how clean the mix is, and like
that's
all this guy right here, you know?
Yeah, I definitely like that side of things. He'll definitely be like, oh, maybe this part is too harsh, you know, too much of this, too little of that.
Yeah.
But as far as like fixing it goes, that's like I'm the one clicking the buttons, you know, like making sure, like doing whatever technique I'm gonna do to fix a specific part of the mix. But he'll definitely be like, listen to it and it's like, dude, this vocal right here sounds like shit. You gotta like, maybe he doesn't know the technical term, but he's gonna like, oh, it sounds weird, you know, and then I'll just try to like,
sounds too dry, sounds too wet, or like sounds buried in the mix, or sounds like it's on top, you know, something like that, you know.
He definitely has input in that stuff, but as far as fixing it goes, like I'm the one doing it because I just know the FL Studio better, you know.
What are you referencing through usually? Like, are you a headphones person and monitors?
Oh, I used to do more monitors, like definitely throughout most of my life, but then once I started doing my classes and stuff, like I started to really realize like you don't realize how bad, like even if you put some panels up in your room, you don't realize how bad it sounds like until you either go to a proper listening environment, or it's just like once I realized that, like I was just like trying to mix songs off my speakers, you know, and it's like after a while I always end up putting the headphones on. You know, it's like, oh, I'm trying to mix the low end in the song. There's no way I'm doing that on the speakers. Like, it's just if you're mixing low end and it's in a like bedroom type of situation, and you're using speakers, you're probably fucking it up. Unless you really know how your room sounds like and you know how to go about it. Because like Joyride, he produced this whole album on Apple AirPods, you know, because he just knows how that sounds and he knows how to go around that. But like,
maybe he pays someone for mixing master.
Yeah,
but
maybe he only did the production side. But either way, like I'm definitely, even when I'm just making music, I always find myself like every 30 minutes I gotta put the headphones on and just like see what it actually sounds like, you know, because like shit sounds dope on the speakers. Like especially like bass driven music, bass line driven stuff, it sounds awesome in the speakers. You're like, bro, this shit slaps. As soon as you put the headphones on, it sounds like dry, it sounds whack, you know. So you have to like.
I think using headphones as a reference as like the last ultimate test is like, okay, did I mix and master this properly? I'll put some headphones on.
Yeah.
Like, let's see. And then eventually, like after you do that in the same area, so like say if you're just a bedroom producer, you're just producing in bedrooms off of monitors. I feel like after you do that so many times, you'll know, like you'll get a reference of how your room sounds. Like,
definitely. I mean, the place I used to live at before, the ground was like carpet, you know. I feel like the walls were really thick. So it actually, when I was making music on the speakers, it sounded good. But on the place I'm at right now, my studio is set up in like it's a pretty big room, and it's like just like a square, you know. So whenever I'm playing shit off the speakers, it doesn't sound good. So, but yeah, like I was talking to some of my professors, like they're like professional engineers, and the amount of work like that goes into properly treating a room, like acoustically speaking, it's just like that's a whole profession of its own for a reason, you know. Like once I realized that, I'm like, dude, my room actually sounds like absolute ass. So I'm just like, I'm not trusting it anymore. To me, the ultimate test is like car test, because like especially his car.
If you have a good car, though.
Yeah, I know his car sounds kind of shit, but like
it's a Mazda 2018.
Yeah, it sounds kind of shit, but
sedan.
Like if you're playing like we were talking about Martin Garrix. You're playing a Martin Garrix track on the car. It's like, you know, that's professionally mixed and mastered. So you know that if you're gonna use that as a reference, you can hear everything. You can hear how it sounds like, and then if you put a Trypbox song up next, you can tell it's not as good, you know. And then maybe it's like, oh no, it's just the car doesn't have a good sound system, but it's just like how can the other one sound good on a car?
Yeah.
That just means your song probably has something wrong with it, you know?
Yeah. No, I think I agree with you too, Robert. When I feel like the headphones is like the last source for me, because I've been listening and mixing sessions and mastering sessions where I've never really listened to it through the headphones, only through my monitors, and I think it's good. And then I listen to my headphones or in the car, for example. I'm just like, nah, like what the fuck?
Damn.
Like the car, the headphones are like are showing me different sounds than what my monitors. Like my monitors sound cool, but like universally, like there's gotta be a quality balance where you're like, all right, yeah, this is clean, like all around, like the whole ecosystem of whether if it's a Bluetooth speaker, a sound bar, earphones, headphones, like definitely, like I think that headphones in the car is gonna be like your true answers of where you want your sound to be.
To wrap up the song, you know. Like if you're starting off, like just use some monitors and get the ideas down at the beginning, I think that works out.
And I always think about too, like how are people consuming music these days? A lot of times when people are
headphones are in the car,
it's either headphones or people blasting it out of their iPhone speakers. Like also too, I'll do a little weird reference test on my iPhone speakers too, just so I can see like I have made creative mixing decisions because I heard some shit on my iPhone speaker, which is weird.
You said iPhone speakers?
Yeah. Like, I'll play it out of my iPhone, and I'm just like, and I'll reference another EDM track similar that I'm trying to achieve. I'm just like, yeah, okay, like it sounds good in the car. It sounds good, it's weird that certain sound devices will just
make the song sound different.
And you just got that's the hardest decision as a music producer to like figure out like that middle balance of the mix.
Trying to make it sound good on everything.
Balance mix to all sound devices.
I don't think how like EDM, especially with how loud it has to be nowadays, like the standard.
But does it gotta be that loud?
I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah. he makes it like he makes it a point that I gotta get it as loud as the other ones.
If you're trying to get on a label, at least have it be as loud as the other songs on the label. You know what I mean?
I feel that. Yeah,
it's like you see a lot of songs, pushing like negative like 5 LUFS or negative 4 LUFS.
Like when you
the Laser Beam song by Ray Volpe.
Yeah,
Ray Volpe or Ray Volpe?
That shit was crazy.
It was like -3.
Yeah, well, I put it into the like I downloaded the MP3 right to like make the edit, and I just dragged that shit in there. I was listening to it on my headphones. It sounded dope, and I was like, I'm just gonna drag the meter and see how loud this one is. Because like to me, like the standard for like pop, rap, and that stuff, that's usually around like I'd say -9 to like -14 on that range, But like house music, people are saying, the standard is like -6, -6, -7. Even like I've seen people say that -8 is fine too, but it's like you want to get it to like at least -7, But like fucking Laser Beam song, I dragged that shit in there, and it doesn't sound over compressed, it doesn't sound distorted, but it was literally at like -3.2 or something, which is like I never even seen a song go that, because LUFS measures perceived loudness, right? So I don't even know how that works, but like just seeing how he can get the song to -3.2 with it being that clean is just like, it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
I feel like with EDM music, like there is no real like threshold at where the master should be at all. Because like a lot of these producers, bro, don't necessarily have a background of like how to master.
I mean, I don't have any background. My background is on YouTube.
Yeah, then that's most of us. So like
YouTube University.
By like, okay, does this sound clean and does it sound loud compared to everything else?
Yeah.
And if that's the case, we're sending it to a label, and if they like it, they like it.
Yeah.
That's us comparing. Damn, now should our tracks be like that? You feel me? Like that's now. I feel like we compare our tracks to everyone else's. Where like we don't necessarily need it to be at the highest level, but now because there's other tracks that are there that are at a loud level.
It's the loudness wars, man. It's been happening since like fucking recording music. Since recording music was a thing. And the thing is, like, now that you're in the digital medium, you don't have to worry about like noise floors and shit. Because when you're all analog, right, you're recording hiss, all this shit that's like in the back. And if you're gonna compress that and turn up the volume, you're gonna bring up noise. But on your DAW, there's no noise, so you can just like compress the shit out of it, bring it up.
have you been going to school for all this?
I'm in my last year right now,
In
so
your last year?
yeah.
It's crazy because everything you're talking about, like noise floor, all that stuff, it's stuff that like would be freshly in my mind too, like when I was going through it and stuff like that. It's crazy
Yeah.
the terms you learn when you're learning to record in opposed to producing sample based like
Yeah, because in the box as opposed to outside the box. I feel that, I mean, like for me, like music production was one thing in my head. And as soon as, because for the first like 2 years, I didn't even have any of those classes. It was more like the random courses that you got to do, you know?
Yeah.
But like as soon as I got into the studio, they have at my university, like, and just listening to that motherfucker talk about the art of like audio engineering and like audio production from the out of the box perspective, in the box being in the computer, you know, with headphones and shit, and out of the box being the analog gear and everything.
Microphone.
Yeah. Once you listen to a professional person talking about that, at least for me, it completely changed my perspective on even the stuff I'm doing in the box, you know, because, and that's something I wanted to talk about as well. Like we're talking about headphones and speakers. One thing that makes a big difference is like sound. I mean, even though you don't see it, sound is a physical thing, you know, it occupies space. And like, especially when it comes to like lower frequencies, the width of a room makes or breaks if whether you can hear that frequency or not, right? And when you put the headphones on, the factor of physical space that affects the sound, right? That is gone. So while you can hear a lot more in the headphones, that doesn't necessarily mean it translates to when there is actual physical space, you know, because it's like in your ear, as opposed to like, I know my professor, he was saying his studio has like sound panels on the roof that move with the sound, you know, to like, yeah. So it's when he said that shit, I was like, okay, I'm never using my speakers again. You know,
it's crazy because like before, say you don't know much about room tuning, a room and whatnot, you would think foam panels.
Yeah, I bought the like 20 pack on Amazon. You know, it's like the shitty ass foam. It's like it doesn't.
But all that does is dead sound, and that's not technically what you want. You don't want a dead reflections and all that shit.
Yeah.
Like you want wood panels, you want diffusive materials. Still, like in all studios you go to, I don't know if you've ever really noticed it. They all have wood floors, and then they just have carpets everywhere, and then they'll have panels everywhere.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily to dead the noise. It's just to stop all the reverberations of our voices coming off the wall, coming right back into the microphone.
Yeah.
Like so once you learn, like, in a sense, you're not trying to dead the sound. You're just trying to
treat it. That's why it's like a profession of art form of its own, really, like acoustics.
Yeah.
It's like really being able to understand it. Like you just stand in a room and you're like, 20 hertz is not really hitting right now. We got to put a panel over there. It's like, how the fuck do you even do that? You know?
You know, it's crazy because earlier when we first started, I don't know if you noticed it, but I walked over there and tried to unplug something from the back of the interface, right? Because I thought I was hearing the feedback from you guys talking coming out through the monitor right there. But in reality, it's just a frequency that's resonating right there. Because this room's not treated, I hear your guys' voices resonating right there a lot. So I was like, why isn't my monitor on? But it wasn't.
Yeah.
It's just because it's just not treated and stuff like that. It's crazy little things you pick up after a while.
Yeah, you start. Yeah, once you really, the more you learn about it, the more you realize that you don't know shit. You know.
Bro, and people go deep with like terms and shit, and sometimes I'll be like, nah, I know what I'm talking about, and then some people will talk to me about microphones and just
bro. Shit, and I'm
just like, I thought I knew what I was talking about. I guess not.
Yeah, I feel that so much because, like, I mean, people be telling me like, "Oh yeah, Trypbox music is amazing. You're like so good at what you do or whatever." And, like, that's good to hear. You know, it makes me feel like I actually know what I'm doing. As soon as I get into the studio with one of those people like doing live sound or like recording stuff in the studio, he's like, "Yeah, so you put the DT12 something on the other side, and you just gotta." And I'm just like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, and, you know, he's like, "Oh, there's like these 20 mic options. You know, for this you're gonna want to grab that and use this compressor." And like just all these like terms and shit, and I'm just sitting there like, damn. It's like I haven't even been doing this the past 6 years. You know, it's like it feels so foreign.
It's like, damn, I want to make my beep boop sounds. You know?
Yeah,
that's
it.
it.
Like that's how I would see it before, but now I'm really starting to like realize like as much as I know how to produce like music in the FL Studio, there's like if you just look at history, you know how when they used to do shit all analog, it's like there's a whole side of things that at least I had no idea about. I don't know if that's just me, but you know, up until I started studying about it, it was like I didn't even know about any of that stuff. You know?
Bro, I feel like that's a lot of people. What's it called?
Yeah.
I feel like though, like when it comes to EDM music, necessarily we're not using microphones to record shit in, but I feel like that does make a big difference in production. Like when you listen to like R&B music, hip hop music, it's very live instrument orientated. So like you'll hear a lot of live drums on a lot of these tracks, a lot of live guitar and stuff like that. With EDM, especially in like bass music and stuff like that, we're already getting clean samples that have been recorded and that's been treated already, you know? So like it's just a whole difference of what you want to produce and what you can use. Because honestly, like say you want to record a guitar in, right? I feel like some people might think, yeah, just grab a microphone and put it next to an amp, but in reality, like there's so much that goes into just grabbing a microphone and putting it next to an amp, recording it, and then using it to sample it.
Yeah, I remember seeing like there was like this one video. The guy was like, "Okay, here's the different ways you could record acoustic." You know, you were talking about electric and an amp, but acoustic is like, and it's also with like vocals a lot, proximity effect. It's like if you're singing close to the mic, your voice sounds warmer, less bright, as opposed to like far away. And then on guitar, if you're like put that shit right next to the strings, it's gonna sound one way. If you put it like more towards the neck, it sounds different. And it's like, when I realize how much deeper it goes, that's when I'm like, okay, I don't need any of that. You know, I don't need none of that.
Incorporating like stuff like that into your guys' music, or have you guys already?
I've experimented with like recording vocals and like direct connection with guitar, like you know, you plug the guitar into the interface and then you just treat it in the DAW afterwards, however you want. Like I've done that.
Like also using like more organic sounds.
Yeah,
for,
but usually
for our tracks.
Yeah, if we're doing like organic sounds, like if we're using guitars or something like that, or like a flute, we actually have a really dope song that uses like strings. On the drop is like bass stuff with strings. Like I'm not recording none of that. You know, I'm leaving that to the professional like sample pack companies to record. It's like we're actually making a sample pack right now, so you know we're gonna release that soon. But none of that is live recordings. I'm gonna record some like stuff like ambiences, you know, like by the beach or something, you know, different environments. But as far as like if there's like guitars or like pianos and shit, I'm programming all that, you know, because I know I'm not up to the standard of other like the professional stuff, you know.
We are looking into recording like live drum samples from a drum set though. So that'll be like
that's one thing. Since I have access to the studio at LMU, I'm just trying to find a drummer that like we don't even need the drummer to play. We just need a drum set to just like, you know, grab the snare, hit it 20 times, 20 different ways, just like cut it out, you know, and make a little sample pack. Not necessarily like to release to the public, but just like it's good. Yeah, it's good because if you record your own samples, only you have that, you know.
Yeah, that will set you apart. Having your own drum kit and all that shit.
Yeah,
it's definitely giving you your own unique sound.
Yeah,
off the bat.
And the fact that you like I've realized this after making the drum kit that we're gonna release. It wasn't like live recorded. It was just like synthesized drums. Being the one that made all the sounds individually, I know exactly what I'm looking for and I know where to find it, you know? And it's just like, it's made the process of like, so I want to say house is very drum oriented, you know? Drums are like, I don't want to say over 50%, but it's at least 50% of the song, you know? Like, yeah, like to me at least, if the drums are not hitting, it's not a good song, you know?
I'm not going to lie. That kick and snare play a big part in how
Yeah, and like after making our own like drum samples, I've just been using that shit on every idea I start now because it's just like it's ours, you know. I made that shit, so it's like, you know, people can buy it and use it, but to me, just like it always made. If I took like 20 minutes to make a drum loop before, now with like all the sounds that I made and it's like catered to what I want to make, I can make one in like half the time, you know, like 10 minutes maybe. And it's like good to get ideas going. You might switch out the sample later, but I guess it's also a good thing about programming instead of live recording. You can just program the whole loop and then you just, if you want to switch out any sound, you can just drag, you know, and it's completely different.
It definitely speeds up the process. Like, you know, we'll be trying to make a song together, and we'll just drag in a Trypbox loop, a Trypbox drum loop, and then lay down some ideas on it.
Yeah,
Save so much
you
time.
guys the pack because it's a. I mean, I'm very proud of how it came out. Like, I hadn't really like synthesized a lot of drums in the past, but it was kind of frustrating at first. But once you had like all the samples down, and it came down to just making the loops, like not so much of synthesis, just like creative loop making. Like, it was just so cool seeing how like all the different sounds. Because it's not like I didn't make it like, okay, we're gonna make these like industry standard like tech house drums. It was like, we're just gonna make some cool shit that would sound good on a Trypbox song, And it's like, it's kind of cool, man. Like, I don't know if you guys ever experimented making your own drum samples. Have you guys tried doing that or no?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that shit's fun, man. Like, I'm definitely doing that from now on. Like, I might still download some sample packs, but Trypbox music from now on, I feel like it's gonna be more of our own samples,
How do you record it in samples? What do you use for recording?
So for the Trypbox sample pack, I didn't record anything live,
Synthesized?
Yeah, synthesized. Some of them were like, the thing I did at first, I was like, okay, we're gonna have 10 claps, 10 hats, 10 snares or whatever, And then I did those. Some are easier to synthesize than others. I'd say like hats are pretty easy to make. You just make something like really, really quick and bright, and it just sounds like a hat, right? So making the first 10 samples for each category was kind of a pain. But once I had those, I was just like, okay, I got my own samples right here. I'm going to just grab 3 claps that I made, drag them in, pitch them all differently, process them differently. And then from there, I have a whole new sample that sounds nothing like the ones before, but it's like, I made it from my drums. So it's like technically still like an original sample. So it's like, once you have like, I'm pretty sure the next sample pack that we make later down the line, next drum kit, I'm just going to grab the drums that I made now, and I'm going to fuck around with them and make new drums off of it instead of like from scratch, like grabbing a sine wave and like fucking spending 20 minutes fucking with it so it sounds like a kick or whatever. Like, that shit was not fun.
How long did that take you to make, dude? That was
like definitely. I think at one point I was like, okay, I'm gonna just make 10 samples every day, and then eventually it's just gonna stack up, right? But there was days I would run through like maybe 20, and then there was like I'd spend a week without not making anything. I think like we started it 2-3 months ago, maybe. Yeah. So as of now,
maybe two.
Yeah, as of now, like the only one that's finalized is the drum kit. We're making like effects, like an effects kit, like a melodies one where it's just like bass lines, drops, like cool Trypbox synth stuff,
Yeah, well, some people can even get some access to some of your guys' stuff, like because you guys have that Trypbox and Burn Runaway remix competition going on. So some people even right away can get some like behind the scenes of into your guys' production too, right?
Yeah, no, we definitely want to start like it's not like streaming, like maybe like a YouTube channel where we can kind of show more of the like production set. Because I think like one thing about Trypbox that like special, it's like the music, And I think like if we can showcase more of the behind the scenes in that, like build a little community with most of the people that really fuck with us, they're already producers, So if we make content for producers, it's just gonna like make it better,
Yeah, like that's what I've noticed is a lot of our fans, they're all producers. We have a big producer community that follows us, so we want to just like, make some content for them, All
right, is that the target demographic you guys are trying to reach for? Or is that just
one?
The fan base that
I mean,
it's one target demographic. Yeah. We definitely don't want to just to fully focus on those guys. We want to get the average EDM listener to also love our music and everything. But that's just one thing we've noticed. We get a lot of DMs every week where it's just like some random producers like, "Yo, how are your drums so good?" Or how did you make this sound? Like I want to know.
Target
let me know.
Demographic for me is like I always say this. It's like I want to make music that is respected by like producers and people who know what it's about. Like I don't know if that makes sense. You want to make music that like super experimental stuff. It's like super intricate. Producers love it. They're like, "Oh, this is so dope. The production is awesome." But if you play that to like a random chick at a club, she's gonna like, "Get the fuck out of here!" Like, what is this? She wants to listen to like the main stage stuff, right? So like the target demographic for Trypbox at least is like respectable by industry people, but also like listenable for like the average person who's not really like you're just like I just want to bump some music in my car and feel good. It's like I don't care if it's crazy sound design, Skrillex shit. I just want to like vibe out, you know. Like we want those people to love our music, but you know we can't. If we gravitate too much towards that, it might get a little too generic, a little too simple, and then on the other side, you know, it's like people are gonna listen to them like, yeah, these guys are whatever, you know. I feel like what sets us apart right now is that like we got that sound and that like quality that not necessarily everyone has, you know. Like
So it's the Trypbox sound, you know.
yeah, exactly.
And then I was gonna say too, like if producers respect your music and look up to your music, then I think you know you have the power to do everything you want in the industry, you know.
Okay.
You know, so
yeah, but it has to be that middle. It can't be like if you're going too much towards either side, you kind of like. I guess if you go more towards the generic side, you can make more money, you can reach more fans, you know, like you can get bigger. But
I get what you're saying.
like, I mean, to me, it's like the art form, you know, like I'm making music that I'm proud of, and if I'm gonna be making main stage tech house, I'm not necessarily gonna be proud of that, you know.
I get what you're saying.
Maybe I would if I fucked with that shit really. Like if that was my the stuff that I loved listening to all the time. Maybe I would be proud of making music.
No,
like
but
that,
you can
know?
obviously go into that route where you make tech house and you could make that money. You could get those.
Yeah,
oh yeah,
big
we're,
gigs, like,
we're looking into ghost production stuff right now. So
Yeah.
oh shit.
Yeah.
Like we don't want to put that music out, but if there's somebody willing to buy it, we're gonna sell that
Well,
shit.
hey,
You
I
know?
want to buy a track right now, bro. What's good? I'm looking into ghost production. I need me a tech house.
Hey,
I need me a
dude.
color house.
You can
Pastel House.
yeah, you can
I got
request it.
I got $2,000. Is that gonna get me somewhere or not?
Oh yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Bro, what you
yeah,
Yeah,
we're setting up the website for that stuff right now. We're gonna offer like mixing and mastering services, ghost production stuff. It's all gonna be like pricing is gonna be listed on there. You can request it on there, and like I think $2,000 if you're trying to pay me that, I'll make a whole album for you, bro.
Holy shit.
That's a low price. Also,
We're starting out, you know.
yeah. But your production isn't starting out production.
I know,
True
but
That shit.
True
Like
that.
you might be starting out in that side hustle and whatnot,
Mhm.
but your production isn't start outside.
Oh, yeah,
Just
yeah.
remember that you guys' quality of
Mhm.
music is of quality of the highest standard. I think honestly.
I appreciate that, man.
I think we're gonna up the price as more people find out
It's
about
like
us.
supply and demand. If we put the price like let's say $100, I think that's what we're doing actually. One song, $150, right?
Okay. But watch this. What happens if I pay you $150? I flip that song, and now it's a bumping mainstream song, and now I'm making tens of thousands of dollars off of it.
Then I should have raised the price, I suppose. But that's what I'm saying. So like, you're gonna be making hella money off of it. And people are gonna be like, "How did you make that song?" You know, oh, this guy, and then everyone's gonna come to me. And like as I was like saying, supply and demand. If we start the service right, anyone can request a ghost production, and 50 people request it right away. I'm like, bro, there's no way I'm making 50 songs in less than like 2 months. Like, I gotta up the price. But if we put it out, and there's like one person requesting a ghost production every month or two, it's like maybe if I bump it up, nobody's gonna request it at all, you know. So I want to like start low, and as people start to hear about it and request more, that's when we up it, you know.
And then talking about like let's say you flip the track and then it becomes a main stage tech house song and you're making tens and thousands of dollars on it. I think that's something we sign up for with like ghost production. It's like we don't get royalties on the track, so that's the one thing
I
that
guess it just depends on the contract.
So
Like
look,
you can get. I mean,
it
I think
depends
the
on
whole
the
thing
contract.
with ghost production is that you're just not known. Your identity is just not known. But I feel like the contract itself can still work out both
Oh, yeah,
ways.
you can work out a royalty and like all that
So
stuff.
what I usually
Yeah.
see from these type of deals and stuff like that, because there's many websites and stuff like that for this, and think of it as you're selling a beat, right? A lot of these websites and stuff, they won't give prices. They'll say email me, or they'll give them a place to contact them. They do that because ultimately they want to gauge who's sending them a request. So like in the request box in whatever your website is, right? You'll have like an email to, if you're interested in whatever song, send me an email, blah, blah, blah. You might even have your own submission form, right?
Yeah.
In that submission form or whatever you're requiring them to send you, you ask them social media, you ask them, small things like that, so you gauge what they're doing. That way in that way, you could give them a reasonable price. So say you don't think that they're on the scale of, okay, there might not be in the production level where they'll buy a track and be able to flip it tenfold. So I can sell it to them for a lower price. Rather than someone that has a big social media following within the tens to 50,000 followers, they have money to put production behind one of your guys' track, and then they can actually flip it for more money. Now you could gauge that and be like, okay, maybe I could charge this person a little more. That's why a lot of these websites don't give you prices, bro. Like, really
definitely. I might actually just not give the price.
Hey, 150. No, 150, bro.
That was no.
Just email and then we'll give a quote. That type of
I
thing.
got 150 right now, bro.
Bro, I've been on the same track where I wanted to sell beats and stuff, and I try to gauge it. Like, okay, what are these people selling? They don't really give you a price. They'll tell you, come to my website, email me, contact me. Like, I don't know if you guys seen this. Like, they'll have like type beats, like Drake beats, blah blah blah, and it'll say free on the side, right? And in the description of a YouTube video, it'll just say, "Oh yeah, I know. For free, contact this email, blah blah blah." It's not really free. They're telling you to just contact them so they can, like, try to give you some type of free promotion or something like that. But it's all about, like, because at the same time, though, like, doing that, it's also promoting a brand. Like, how do you get your ghost production as big as your your guys' DJ names? You feel me? Like, it's doing the same shit. You're making another.
I mean, ghost product, but that would be more behind the scenes. You're making a name behind the scenes because I mean, big DJs don't want people to know that. Like, let's just say, going back to Martin Garrix. If Martin Garrix hears our stuff, he's like, I want a ghost production from these guys. He would never want it to be publicly known that Trypbox made that song.
And then that's when you sign an NDA and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, if I had a ghost producer and the tracks are fire crap, I ain't telling no one who I get my tracks ghost. They're my ghost producer. Like,
that makes sense. Yeah.
You feel me? So, like, sometimes like that's really hard to go about, but I feel like it's a really good hustle. There's really good ghost producers out there.
Yeah, one thing I see from it, like, maybe not so much the ghost production, but like mixing and mastering, like, I want to put an affordable price, like, be like, dude, send me the stems to your song, and for this price, I'll mix it and master. And it's like, not so much about the money you're making, but the experience you get from it. Like, the more music you mix and master, or the more, like, the ghost production, you're putting yourself out of your comfort zone to, like, make a certain song that's, like, not the stuff I make. Like, if somebody went up to me and was like, I want you to ghost produce like a tech house track for me, like, I don't make tech house, but putting myself through that, it's like the money's the incentive, it's like, shit, getting paid to do that, that's dope. But beyond the money, it's like you're investing more time into your craft. It's like, it's not like, oh, I sold it for this. Like, all I get from this is the money that the guy paid me. It's more than that, in my opinion. Because,
like, in another reality, it's like, oh, this guy's paying me to pretty much get better or strengthen.
Yeah,
this
exactly. Like, and not even, you're like trying new stuff. Like mixing someone's song. It could be on the website. It's like any genre you want. If a person sends me a rap song or R&B track to mix and master for them, I might not do an incredible job, but I wouldn't be doing that to begin with if I didn't say I would, like,
right.
And it's
you'll get better at it too.
Money is like, is extra, in my opinion. It's like, it's good to make money, and if I can make money from that, I'd love to. But it's also about the fact that the experience, you're putting yourself out of your comfort zone to make music that's not yours. You're not
other techniques that you wouldn't
exactly like you're not gonna, like, if I'm mixing Trypbox music, sometimes I'm like, this sound is not hitting. Sometimes I'll change this. I'm not gonna process it. I'm gonna just change the sound. But if it's someone else's song, it's like you don't have the option to be like, fuck this kick, I want a different kick. You can't do that because it's the person's song. You're just mixing it, so you gotta find ways to work around that, ways to make a shitty kick sound good. And you don't necessarily put yourself through that hassle if it's your own song, because there's easier ways to go about it.
Sometimes they might not even notice if you change the kick. Sometimes, I feel like
if they don't notice it, then maybe they shouldn't be making their own music.
You can just say, "Oh, I made the kick sound better," but in actuality, you just changed the kick.
Let me ask you guys something. What's considered to you guys just mixing opposed to just mastering? Because there's just mixing engineers out there that only mix, don't master, they don't produce, they just mix.
Yeah.
So where does the mixing start for you and then go into mastering?
So for my own music, like Trypbox, I would say the mixing kind of goes along, because to me, a big part of, like, if I feel compelled to finish a song, that's because it's hitting for me. I'm listening to them like, fuck, this is dope, And so a lot of the times I'm like processing stuff as I go along. The production aspect of it and the mixing aspect are kind of happening at the same time, because it's just how I like to work. But then again, mixing engineers, right? They might be giving input on, like, oh, maybe you should play this. Like, I was talking to my professor. He's like, if you're getting a session player to play drums for you, the session player can't be like slamming the fucking drums. You gotta like get the session player to play like quietly almost, because it's just like usually you associate the production side of things with the creative aspect, and the mixing is like technical. I mean, that's how I used to see it. But you start to realize that the mixing side of things is really what brings a track alive, and like mixing decisions directly impact how something sounds, like, so to me, I should do it as I go along because it's just easier. It's just how I found myself to do it. But I've just been like listening to a lot of like old mixing engineers who are like, they've come from the analog world, right? They've just been doing mixing engineering for like 40 plus years, and you listen to them talking about the craft, right? You listen to them talking about trying to mix a song, and he's just like, dude, I'm just sitting there for hours and hours trying to make the room come alive. It's like this. He's not playing guitar, he's not exercising musicality, but the creative aspect of mixing on its own is a craft, like a creative craft, and it's like, I feel like that's why I do it at the same time, because like the mixing decisions I make as I produce are part of the creative process, if that makes sense.
Real quick, we gotta take a break to stop this, but we're gonna run back.
All right. Actually, I have to use the bathroom, so.
All right.